The Lord of the Rings audiobook read by Andy Serkis. Is it worth buying? Let's find out. Wes, hi everybody, and welcome to another video. Well then, this is late. I am very late with this one, but finally I am providing you, my dear friends, with my expert reaction to the audiobook The Lord of the Rings by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, as read by Andy Serkis. A little bit of a background there, why I'm very late on this one. Quite honestly, because I don't usually go for audiobooks. And I could end it there, right? But it wouldn't be European law if I didn't elaborate upon the entire matter. If you've been following my channel for quite some time, my dear friends, you know that Tolkien has been a tremendously huge part of my life since very early childhood. When I read The Hobbit for the first time when I was about 8, and then, of course, subsequently reading The Lord of the Rings. And then, of course, venturing deeper and deeper into his works, and then at secondary school, and more so even at university, delving into his academic work, him being an immense influence on me. I wrote multiple theses on Tolkien at university on his works, and it was him, ultimately, along with one of my professors, who led me to the glorious discovery of the alliterative verse, the Old Germanic alliterative verse, and its usage in Old English poems and Old Germanic poems in general. I delved into the study of Beowulf and Sergeant Seafarer and the Wanderer, and that, of course, influenced my own creative output as well. For those of you who are from the Czech Republic and Slovakia, you will, of course, know that I've got several collections of poetry published. Some of you who are my subscribers even own a copy and have provided me with very good reviews, and I thank you for it. So you might know that as far as my poetry goes, there's a huge corpus of my own poetry written in the Old Germanic alliterative verse, which, of course, Tolkien not only studied, but also wrote in. I do recommend, read the Lays of Beleriand, which is a part of the history of Middle-earth. It contains many stories by Professor Tolkien written in this kind of verse, which, of course, we know that in many cases there are several versions of his stories, a poetic one and then a prosaic one, written in prose, such as, for example, the Lay of the Children of Húrin, or the tragedy, or the Lay of Beren and Luthien. I even have, I think, read a couple of lines on this channel and uploaded it as a little micro short audiobook myself. And so, other than that, of course, my preference has always been just grabbing a book in my hand and reading it, delving inside the fantastic stories that we all love and enjoy. And, hearing all those voices in my own head is just my preference. However, I have got absolutely nothing against audiobooks. The oral passing down of stories is quite obviously, understandably, much older than the written word. And it was, a long time ago, before the invention of writing systems, the only way how to pass on stories and, very important pieces of information and wisdom that people had and wanted to give to the next generations. So telling stories and listening to stories is as old as speech itself. And I have in my life listened to not one audiobook. Just a couple really. However, if you want to know, my favorite is The Children of Húrin, read by Sir Christopher Lee, just because his voice is so tremendous. And so today, because I'm a teacher, I listened to the first chapter of The Lord of the Rings with my students, in English, of course, because I'm an English teacher. And, well, I chose the Andy Serkis version. And I have to tell you, he is a man of many talents. Not only is he a good actor, a tremendous actor, a very good storyteller, and a tremendously talented director and a filmmaker himself, but also a good narrator. Now, it is not as easy, as many people would think, to do an audiobook. Your voice has to be grasping, but that, of course, that depends on the genre, right? But in the case of long narratives like The Lord of the Rings, of really fairy story-like stories, your voice needs to sound as if you were sitting at the bedside and your parents were telling you the story, or you were sitting around the fire and it was dark outside, and you were telling stories for good night, and you wanted to calm down and feel good. And that is precisely what Andy Serkis is doing in the book. He can do voices very well. He can change voices, which not all narrators do when they are making an audiobook. Not everybody can, switch and swap between different voices. But all the same, I couldn't shake the feeling. I couldn't but think of the Gollum, quite obviously, from the movie adaptation by Peter Jackson. It's just Andy Serkis and his voice, even if he speaks in his normal voice, not doing the Gollum voice or the Smeagol voice. It's just, you hear him, you see him, and instantly you think of Gollum. It is inevitable. It is unthinkable at this point of time. But of course, then I skipped forward. I wanted to hear him reading passages with Gollum, and of course he uses his Gollum voice, which is it's obvious. It needs to be there. If he didn't do his Gollum voice, that would be weird, and I think that people would deservedly dislike the audiobook. And so, yes, I have to say that if you are looking for an audiobook of The Lord of the Rings, because I know that not everybody's preference is the printed word, the paper book, but also many people are traveling long distances, so they might want to listen to an audiobook rather than read because they don't have that much time for it. Some people like to listen to audiobooks right before they go to bed, with lights off. All of these things are understandable. I do recommend this new edition, new audiobook edition of The Lord of the Rings as narrated by Andy Serkis. You will not regret it, and you will not waste your money right there. And all that remains to say is, my dear friends, please let me know in the comments down below what you think, and that will. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.